and welcome to Darvanalee Design Studio. For those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reed, and today I'm going to show you how to make this cute little sunglasses or glasses case. In my case, I'm actually making mine for my readers and my magnifier for cross stitch. I'm going to show you how to use fusible foam and also how to put it with a magnetic snap. But if you don't have that, don't worry, I explain what else that you can use. So let's get started. Okay, so there's a few things that you're going to need today. You are going to need some sewing supplies. You're going to need some pinking shears, a pair of regular scissors if you're not going to use a rotary cutter, a marking device. You're going to need something to help turn your project out. You maybe might need a quick unpick. It's always handy to have. You're going to need some wonder clips. And you're also going to need some fabric. So you're going to need an exterior fabric and a lining fabric. Although it is not necessary to have that, you can just get away with making this project with one fac water. You're going to need some foam, and it can be sew-in foam or it can be fusible, but I just like mine's fusible today because I like to use that. It makes life easy for me. And you're also going to need some Shapeflex 101 or your favorite interfacing. I prefer to use a woven interfacing as opposed to a non-woven, but it doesn't really matter. It's just for the lining, and that's what it goes on to. You're also going to need, now there's two ways that you can have a clasp on there. Well, there's actually three ways. You could use a little piece of Velcro, a little square of sew-in Velcro if you want to, if you've got that on hand, or you can use your plastic snaps. But today I'm actually going to be using a magnetic snap. And the reason I like to use a magnetic snap is because I'm putting my glasses into this. And in this case, I'm actually using, putting my magnifiers in there. So my readers and my cross stitch magnifiers, and I don't want to push down on the Velcro. If you don't have to push down, that'll just clasp itself, but the plastic snap, you do sort of have to clasp it together, so it can be a little bit tricky and you might be pushing down on your glasses. So I like to just use a magnetic snap. It's easy to separate, it's easy to close, and I don't have to push down on it. I'm using a 14mm today, and you're going to need a male and a female part for it, and you're going to also need 2 washers for that. So I'm just going to set that aside so I don't lose those, and then we're going to get started. So the first thing that you need to do is move all your supplies out of the way, and you need to cut your fabrics to 8 inches across and 11 inches in height. Okay, and that's both the Shapeflex 101, the fusible foam, the exterior fabric, and the lining fabric. Now, to save a little bit of time, I've already put my Shapeflex 101 on the back, and I just grabbed my scraps out of my scrap bin, and I just patchwork the back of it because it's just a lining. So that's already done, and now I've got the foam. Now, as I said, this is a fusible foam, so basically all I'm going to do is grab my iron and ironing pad, and I'm just going to lay that on top there like so, and then I'm just going to place my exterior fabric on top with the right sides facing up and the wrong side facing onto the foam. Now, my foam that I'm using today is double-sided fusible, but it won't stick. I use it all the time without a problem. Now, I put my iron to a warm setting, so it is actually on a wool setting, a little less than a wool, closer to the silk. Okay, it takes a little bit longer to fuse the foam that way, but it also means that I won't scorch the foam in any way. It won't shrink up on me or anything like that. So I just keep moving that around. And then that is done. So I just check the corners that it's on. Yep, so that's all good to go. So I can set that aside now. And we're going to move on to the next step. Now, this is a really quick and easy project. You're going to absolutely be amazed how quick it is. So what we need to do is we just need to grab a ruler of some sort. And then basically all I'm going to do on this bottom edge of my fabric, now it doesn't matter with this fabric because it's non-directional, and basically I'm going to line my ruler up on the 3/4 mark on the ruler, and then I'm going to find the 4-inch mark because we know that this is 8 inches, and then I'm going to make sure that that's nice and straight going along the edge of the fabric, and then I'm just going to make a little mark, a little cross at that 4-inch mark. Now you probably can't see that on there because it's on a dark fabric, but I've got it just there, and I can see that. If I bring it up closer you might see it, so it's just there. And then all I'm going to do is grab one of these washers, and I'm going to place that little cross in the hole, and then I'm just going to draw a line on each of those side marks there. Okay, so I can see those are just there. And then all I'm going to do, now you can do this one or two ways. You can just get your quick unpick and you can just put a hole at the top and just gently come down, just very gently. Alternatively, you can grab your scissors and you can just make a little pinch mark like so, and then just put your scissors in there like that. And then I'm going to grab the female part of the magnetic snap, and I'm just going to place that in like so. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is you need a little bit of interfacing on the back of this. So I generally just cut a 1-inch mark of, you can use a bit of foam if you want to, or you can use a piece of Peltex. And all you're going to do is cut that 2 squares of that out. I always forget to mention this when I do a video, every single time. So I do apologize for that, but we need 2 little squares, and all I'm going to do is find that, I'm just going to eyeball the center of that, and then I'm just going to place that on there and then mark those 2 lines. And so I've got those 2 lines because that's where the prongs are going to come up through. And then I'm just going to gently fold that in half without creasing it too much and snip it, and then that will go on like so. Now you can trim it down a little bit because I can see there that that's going to be pretty close to my seam allowance. So I'll just trim that down a little bit. Okay, and it's better to have a little bit extra than not enough. And then all we're going to do is place that washer on. So those little prongs will go into those slits. Okay, and then I just use the end of my quick unpick and tailor's awl to squash those down. And it just saves my fingers, hurting my fingers. And I just fold it in like that, and there we go. It's nice and secure. Okay, now we need to do the same thing for our lining, except this one will be on the top edge. Okay, so again, you'll probably see this a little bit clearer because it's white fabric. Again, I'm going to place my ruler on the 3/4 mark, so it's coming 3/4 down, and then you can see there's the 4-inch, and I'm just going to make a little mark. So you can see there I've done that. Then I'll grab my washer, and then I'll just line that center hole up on the washer with that little cross that I just done. So you can see there the cross is in there, and then I will just hold that in place and then mark those 2 side slots. And then again, just grab your quick unpick or your scissors and just make a little snip on those lines. Then grab the male part of your clasp. Okay, so it's popped in like that. Then flipping it over. And then again, we just make some marks on this. As I said, just eyeballing the center. And then just giving it a slight little fold, and then you can just snip it. Making sure not to get your fingers, especially if you're using super sharp scissors like I am. These scissors bite. Okay, so again, you can see that's pretty close to where I'm going to be sewing, so I'm just going to pull that off, and I'm just going to trim a little bit away, and then that way I still have that security there. And what that does is when you're opening and closing it, it adds just a little bit of extra security behind the clasp, and it'll stop the fabric from ripping. I'm sure that you've probably got a handbag before, you've paid next to nothing for it, and then after a couple of months, if it's got a magnetic snap, it'll pull away. And that's because they cut costs by not using inner facings and stuff like that. So this is a really good tip with any sort of snap that you're going to put on, except for plastic. Your cam snaps, they're generally okay. You don't have to worry about them too much, but anything with a magnetic pull or even a twist lock, I like to put a little bit just on those prongs where they're going to go, just to give it a little bit of extra security. I don't necessarily use the Peltex with a twist lock, but I will use you know, a couple of pieces of the Shape Flex, and that just gives it that, as I said, a little bit extra security. All right, and it just, I mean, it just saves you having to make the bag again, really. All right, so as you can see, they're a little bit tricky because they're a smaller one. You can use a bigger one if you want, but I had a lot of these 14-inch ones, so 14mm ones, so that's why I thought I'd use this today, and it's a smaller project too. All right, okay, so those are now secured in place. Okay, so we've got on the lining, we have the male component, and on the so one at the top, and then on the exterior, on the bottom part, we have our female part. All right, so the next step that we're going to do is we are going to put these right sides together. Okay, and we want our magnetic snaps, because what will happen, this will come up, fold up, and this will be on the inside and it will fold down. Okay, so we want them to be the opposite, and then all we're going to do is we're going to lay them on top of each other. Okay, lining up our top edge, and we're going to grab a couple of wonder clips, and we're going to just put that there, and we're going to put this to the side. To the side. And down the bottom. Okay, now before we go any further, what we're going to do is we are going to trim off to give it a nice, the flap, give it a different shape. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up on my cutting mat, and I'm going to take, I think, about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches off. Yeah, 1.5 inches. I like the 1.5 inches. And then we're going to come down 1.5 inches as well. And then we're just going to join those dots. Then we'll grab our rotary cutter or your scissors, either way. And then we're just going to trim that off. Okay. And then I'll just grab a wonder clip to hold that in place. And then I'm going to do exactly the same over this side. So I'm going to come in 1.5, and I'm going to go down 1.5. I'm going to join those dots, and then I'm going to trim that off. Okay, so that is the shape of our little pouch. All right, I really like this shape. You can round them if you want to, but I really like this shape. It just I find it sits a bit better with the rounded side. It tends to curl up a little bit, and I don't really like the look of that. So placing that there, then over this side here, I'm going to leave about a 3-inch gap so we can turn it through. And I'm just going to make a couple of marks, and that area there we're not going to sew. Okay, then what we're going to do is when we go over to the sewing machine, what we're going to do is we're going to start sewing here, and we're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we're going to sew all the way around till we get to this one, making sure that you back stitch at the beginning and at the end, because we're going to be turning this through. So I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch all the way around. Okay, so we've sewn all that down, so you can see there I've sewn a 1/4 inch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our pinking shears and we're just going to take some of this bulk off our seams. So basically I go all the way around except for the area that I haven't stitched. And that just gives me some nice clean corners and takes away a lot of that bulk. So when I come up to the area that I haven't stitched closed, I just go off to an angle like so. Okay, and then when I start in on this end, I just come in on an angle without going into my stitching, and I just trim that off all the way around. This is a great one to use for curves too. Like it just saves you having to clip those little V's. It just gives you all those little notches nice, quick and easy. And we love quick and easy around here. All right. Okay, so get rid of all your rubbish. And now we are ready to turn in. So turn it out. So I just go down into the bottom corner and I just pinch it like so, and then I push that corner out, and then I slowly, being very careful not to pop my stitches, but if you've reversed really well where you've back stitched, it shouldn't pop, but just still be gentle anyway. Okay, and then I just pull it out. Now it can be a little bit tricky with the foam, but it is very much doable. We pull it all out. There we go. And then I grab my turning device here and I just basically run that along the seams to get everything to pop out. Poke my corners out. Same at this side. And just run it along the seams as well. All right. So just giving that a little bit of a smooth down, and just make sure that I've got everything out, poked out properly. This side's not poked out very well. All right. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to give this a really good press. Grab my ironing pad and my iron, and then I'm just going to make sure that that is pressed down nicely, making sure that all my seams are rolled nice, and give them a really good press. Same down this end. And then I'll just fold these in. So I've just folded that in, and they'll fold in nice and easy because you've stitched up to there, and then you can just give it a quick press and that'll hold it in place, and you'll just need to put a wonder clip on it temporarily. Alright, I just grab a wonder clip and that's just going to hold that in place. Sometimes I need to just double check that the lining's sitting nicely. Give it a press on this side. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to hold that in place with a wonder clip, and now I'm going to give this side a really good press. Now my foam, as I said, is fusible, and it's actually double-sided fusible, so it makes it nice and easy to iron down all of my lining and know that it's not going to move. All right, so now that you've got that all pressed, you can set that ironing pad aside, and now what we're going to do is we are going to fold up our bottom end. So this is the bottom end away from the clasp, and we're just going to fold this up like so, and that is going to come up and this will come down. So So I line up my magnetic snap, and that'll give me a better idea of where that's got to sit. Okay, so you can see there that that's just sitting on there nicely. So what I will do now is, now that they're sitting there and that's closed, what I'll do is I'll open that back up again, and I'll just measure this, and it's got to come up around about 3 3/4 of an inch. And then I'll just pop a wonder clip there, and then I'll measure the other side, and that's come up nicely. And I will just make sure that, because this has got the side that you need to close, and I will just make sure that that is sitting nice and flat. And then I'm going to pop a wonder clip there to secure it, and an extra one just here. All right, and I'll just make sure everything's lining up properly. I'll pop my, you can see there that it's closing nicely. All right, now I'll undo that, and now what we're going to do is we are going to top stitch this, and that will then create our pouch. So we're going to start on the left hand side, and you're going to elongate your stitches to about a 3.5 millimeter. Okay, you're going to back stitch here. You're going to stitch all the way along using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I like to do a little bit of a back stitch here, because that just gives it, because you're putting a little bit of pressure on that. Then you go up and go all the way around, come around to this side, do a back stitch there, come down and finish off with a back stitch, and then that's it. It'll be finished and ready to use. All right, so I'm going to head over to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to double check those measurements, make sure it's the same in the middle and then the same on the edge. That could probably come down just a touch. There we go. And now I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and stitch that down. Okay, so that is all now top stitched down, and it is now ready to use. So you can see there that it just clasps down nice and quick and easy, and I don't have to push on it or anything like that. Now, because this is for my cross stitch one, I will just pop my magnifiers and reader in there, and then I can pop that close, and then I can just put that with all my cross stitch supplies and know that my magnifiers aren't going to get scratched, or my readers aren't going to get scratched at all. Alrighty, so that is it, a quick and easy glasses case. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do hope that you enjoyed making this gorgeous little pouch with a magnetic snap. It's a super quick and easy way to make a glasses case. You can use it for sunglasses, your normal reading glasses like what I've got. I always, when I get new glasses, I don't like to have these bulky ones in the bottom of my handbag. I always make these for in the bottom of my handbag, because it's just a little bit nicer and not as big and bulky either when you, in comparison. If you like this video today, give us a thumbs up down below. Don't forget, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the little bell icon to all notifications, and then that way you won't miss out on any future posts. Leave us a comment down below and tell me what you thought. We always love to hear from you. So have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you all again next week for another great tutorial. Bye for now.